in you. Try to know this truth. It is this that gave such a high status for human life. This human life is very precious. It is very unique. Throughout our literature, you find the stress, the uniqueness of this human individuality. You can know the world. You can know yourself. You can know the Supreme Brahman from which the whole universe has come. All these capacities are there. Today, we are dealing with that subject in our education, the realization of the human potential. Many movements in America are called human potential movement. What are the potentials in a human being? How to bring them out? That is what is given in Vedanta. Infinite potentials are there. We have to realize it. Then life is creative. If you stop realizing it, get stagnant at a particular level, especially the organic level, then everything becomes uncreative. That is the normal life of man. Uncreative, repetitive, nothing new. But many people do not want it. They want to go onward. They don't want to stay put in one area. That movement in the West, which took place in the post-war period, there they developed this concept. And so many psychiatry schools developed. They also said this normal life is not at all truly normal. It is abnormal. Running after money, pleasure, comfort, power, cheating people. Is this called normal worldly life? Not at all. Absolutely abnormal. There is no value. There is no creativity in such life. Men like R.D. Leon, famous psychiatrist of England, he refers to this, that parents telling children, try to adjust with the world, constantly telling children. And the result is, what do? Adjust a false personality to a false society. That's all what we have seen. In India is full of it today. Absolute false personality adjusting to a false society. That's what we do. Somebody must break out of it. In the West, this breaking out of this Victorian attitude came after the Second World War. They wanted to get a creative life, simple, without distinction between man and man, with capacity to enter into each other, love and concern. There you can see the evidence of a new upward movement in human life. So all these ideas come from the Upanishads. How many levels of reality are there within us? We live at one level and stop there. There are deeper levels, deeper dimensions of truth in every one of us. The Upanishads gives you a complete spectrum of these potentials, these possibilities in every one of us. Try to go one step more. Don't get stagnant at any particular level. That's the only warning that Vedanta gives. So, having said this, the next shloka, Yajnavalkya says, Tadva edadaksharam gargi adrishtam drashtru. This great imperishable reality, aksharam, immutable, imperishable reality. Because everything else is mutable. Everything else is subject to change. Even the Himalayas will disappear sometime. So also the sun will disappear sometime. These are all mutable. But there is one immutable behind the mutable. That is the search in the Upanishad. That they found in that reality from which the whole universe has come, of the nature of infinite pure consciousness. They called it Brahman. They called it Atman, saying, words do not convey anything, but we do need a word, therefore we use it. Don't be carried away by words. The substance, the truth is more important. So that is Brahman, who is the immutable. He is never seen, but he is the witness of all seeing. There's a wonderful adrishtra, it says, drashtru. Similarly, amatam mantra. It cannot be thought about, but it is the thinker, the eternal thinker, mantra. Avijñātam vijñātra. Unknown, but the knower. A table is known. Objects are known. Brahman is never known. Avijñātam. But he is the knower. Vijñātra is it. Nanyat atovasti drashtra. There is no other seer but the Brahman. Nanyat atovasti shrotra. There is no other hearer but this Brahman. Nanyat atovasti mantra. No other thinker but this Brahman. Nanyat atovasti vijñatra. No other knower other than this Brahman. That is the knower of all knowledge. Supremely the knower, never the known, ever the subject, never the object. That is the supreme status of every human being. We are essentially the knower, not the known. But we consider ourselves entirely an object among objects. That is the greatest misfortune that can come to a human being, that he or she is the knower, he is the self, not the object, the not self. That concept must come strong, and the self, that kind of thing. And this self is infinite, one with all. So we live a happy life with each other. No kind of violence, hatred is possible as that knowledge will come. Edasminnu khalu akshare gargi akasha otasya protascheti. Yajnavalkya concluded. That question was by Gargi. Here is Akasha, space. What is space interpenetrated with? That is the question. We converted everything into space. Finally, what is space interpenetrated with? Potasya protascha, interpenetrated, warp and move, as over the prota. Then he said that is this pure consciousness, one and non-dual. That is the supreme truth given by the Upanishads. Throughout our Vedantic literature, that is Brahman, and I am one with that. That is a wonderful thing. Brahman cannot be divided. He is infinite, remains infinite in every bit of thing. The same infinite in its full form is there. Infinite cannot be divided. Undivided, in things divided, is the Atman. As I give the example of space. Space is undivided, never can be divided. But it exists in things divided. In the hall, in the room, in a pot, everywhere there is space. Looks divided, where it is undivided. Such is Brahman, the one infinite reality behind the universe and in the universe. As you and I, we are all sparks of the same divine. We don't know it. Vedanta wants people to know this truth. Tameva atmanam janatha. Try to understand that Atman. That is a very great thing for you, to realize your own worth, your own dignity, your own real status is as the Atman, the eternal self, one with all. You are not a petty little creature. This pettiness can never come with a little knowledge of this truth of Vedanta. That bigness will come in the human mind. So, this, the immutable, this intelligence itself, of the nature of pure intelligence. The ear has no intelligence. The ear is hearing only because it is an instrument. That's all. But the intelligence is what hears. Similarly also, all the sense organs, they are only instruments. Doors, that's all. The light that comes through the door is the light of intelligence. That is what is present in all of us. So he said, it is this Brahman, therefore, we have studied. There is layer after layer. Grass, the world which you see is a grass world. You can handle it, concrete. Then inside is subtle. Similarly, still more subtle. In this way, one inside the other. Ultimately, the subtlest point, you come to Brahman. The innermost layer is Brahman itself. These are all nothing but that Brahman's own expression in various levels of our consciousness. So he said, this is the extreme limit. Sa kashtha, sa para gatihi. That's what the Kathopanishad said. That is the kashtha, the ultimate limit. Para gati, the highest point of expansion, of infinitude is there. So the ultimate goal, the supreme Brahman, the truth of truth, earlier shlokas had referred to it as the truth of truth. The world is truth, and Brahman is the truth of the truth. Satyasya satyam. This is the language. And this ending with the ether. You can see one inside the other until you come to space. What you call space-time today. Now, that is the last that you can come to. Beyond that, nothing but Brahman, the absolute, pure consciousness. Up to ether, we don't speak of consciousness. Consciousness comes only from Brahman. If I am conscious, it is because Brahman's presence in me. In everything, Brahman is present. But consciousness doesn't pulse except in living creatures, from the cell up to man. In other things, they do not pulse, because they are absolutely absorbed in that objective situation. But the greatness of man is that he can manifest that Brahman, that ultimate reality. This body and mind is a good instrument for that purpose. And so, these two questions, it is, having answered these questions, Gargi is addressing the audience. Now, the next verse, that is number 12. 3, 8, 12. Sahovacha Gargi, Brahmana, Bhagavanta, Tadeva, Bhumanyedvam, Yadasmat Namaskarena, Muchyedvam, Gargi says, looking around the audience. Revered Brahmanas, you should consider yourselves fortunate if you can get off from him through salutation. Salute him and get away. Don't do any further questioning. Gargi's remark. Navai jatu Krishmakam imam kaschit brahmodyam jetedi. Never shall any of you defeat him in describing Brahman, expounding the subject of Brahman. Tatoha vajaknavi upararama. Saying this, Gargi kept quiet and sat down, challenging the whole audience. This is the particular situation in that assembly. How many thousand years ago? It looks like contemporary. Subjects are contemporary. And the style, everything is contemporary. Setting up, putting forth your idea, asking permission, shall I speak? All these are good methods we have evolved in conducting an assembly. If you do not know how to conduct an assembly, in fact, sometimes we do not know how to conduct an assembly. Especially now everybody talks in an assembly. And nobody hears what anybody is saying. Panchayats, municipalities, senate, all, everywhere. This kind of thing. But when somebody speaks, you listen. When somebody listens, somebody is speaking. So you can question, you get the answer. So there are certain rules. We do not know how to observe these rules today. We have lost the capacity for a real dialogue. We love all the talking. Others must do all the hearing. Here also there's the same thing. So everybody talks all the time. So nothing is done. No business is achieved after hours of discussion in any committee. That is not so in any civilized society. Here you can see a highly civilized society. You can give your opinion freely. We are not here to be converted by you. We want to hear, we want to understand, and if necessary, we shall make changes. But we are here to listen to you. You tell what you have to say. You are absolutely free. That kind of thing, democratic functioning is said. I quote Voltaire's statement, in a democracy, you have every right to expound your point of view to the people. It is, I am quoting his words, it is, I will defend with my life your right to say what you think right. But I will not be carried away by what you say. I will think soundly and think about it. But your right to say I will protect with my life. That is democracy. We do not know that democracy yet. We don't allow a man to speak at all. If we shout and pull him down, and spoiling the whole thing from ordinary life to parliament itself. All through a common pattern you will find there. The minimum of parliamentary decency we have not learned yet. This is the importance of reading a 4,000-year-old book where discussion goes on with great care. People are listening. In the end, the lady stands up. Well, this man is wonderful. Nobody can defeat him in discussion. Salute him and get away from here. That's how last Gargi ended that program. Then next comes the next number 9 chapter in book 3, the Kahola, the Shakalya. Another sage stands up to question Yajnavalkya. So many chapters, these questions go on. And most of these questions are dealing with small theological issues which were important at that time. Shankara merely gives a translation and just a little explanation, nothing more. The importance of spiritual, philosophical ideas which we associated with other passages we do not find here. So, series of questions. First thing is asking here, the Shakalya. Shakalya is the name of the sage. Vidagdha Shakalyaha. Vidagdha, the son of Shakala, asked Yajnavalkya a question. Interesting part of this question is how Yajnavalkya gives you a philosophical view of the nature of God. We have so many gods, hundreds, thousands. Essentially, it's only one. That one you call at various names, hundreds and thousands. That subject comes up here. Then Vidagdha, the son of Shakala, asked Yajnavalkya, how many gods are there? Now Yajnavalkya must answer according to the original theological conceptions of the time. And he is doing it. But in his philosophy, he knows how to reduce all this multiplicity to unity. That is what he is doing here. How many gods are there? Yajnavalkya decided it through the group of mantras known as Nivid. There. First, how many gods are there? Yajnavalkya, 33, he said. Then, very well. How many gods are there? Again, he is asking. 6. He reduced it to 6 immediately. Then, how many gods are there? 3. Say. Again, how many gods are there? 2. Then again, how many gods are there? 1.5. Really, the fun and humor of it. 1.5. Then, how many gods are there? Finally, he says, 1. Only 1. You can make it 10,000, 10,000, million, but it's all 1. So 1. Very well, said Shakalya. Which are those 303 and 3003? The various numbers are there. These answers are dealing with purely the contemporary theological ideas. Even the sense organs are treated as gods there. The eye, ear, nose, they are all gods. Why? They are luminous. Deva comes from div, means luminous. In the body, sense organs are the devas. All sense organs are called deva in Sanskrit language. And so, that is luminous. The skin, you get a sense of touch. Ear, you can hear. Eye, you can see. Tongue, you can taste and speak. All these are devas in the body. That is the ancient idea. All Indriyas are devas. They said like that. So, these are all, it says, these are all but manifestations of that one, Yajnavalkya said. You can have 1 million, you can have 10 million manifestations. What does it matter? The one is the truth. That is the Rigvedic truth repeated throughout the Upanishads. Egam Sat, Vipra, Bahutha, Vadanti. Truth is one. Sages call it by various names. So how many gods and goddesses we worship? If only we know in our heart of hearts that they are all one, in different shapes, different forms, different qualities, we call them so. That would have been a great thing. But we don't have that basic unity knowledge yet. We think each is separate. That is against our teaching. There's only one behind the many. In fact, every human being is a god, because in that human being is the spark of divinity itself. So in this way, the whole concept of gods and goddesses underwent a tremendous transformation in the Upanishads. Today Swami Vivekananda does the same thing. Gods and goddesses, your countrymen are your gods and goddesses. Go and worship them, he said in a Madras lecture. Give up these millions of gods and goddesses. Here are the gods nearest to you, your own countrymen. Worship them, serve them, remove their difficulties. That is the best form of worship. Practical Vedanta comes in from there. So from multiplicity, we come to unity, unity in diversity. These are all diverse, but there is unity in all of them. Serving man is serving God himself. That is the beautiful passage in Swamiji's lecture in Madras in 1897. For the next 50 years, this alone shall be our keynote, this our great Mother India. What vain gods are you seeking after? If you cannot worship the living God, the Virat, the infinite Swarupa of the divine that are around you, These are the first gods you are to worship instead of being jealous of each other, destroying each other. It's a great karma we are doing from which we are suffering. Doesn't open our eyes. Now, change over to worship these gods that are around you, lift them up, help them to education, etc. This is the way to build up this nation. Swamiji goes into ecstasy dealing with this subject, particularly remembering a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said, not merely serve your fellow human beings in India, but worship them. They are fit to be worshipped because in them there is a spark of divinity. That one is in millions here. Therefore, service becomes worship. Service is not enough, he says. Worship is the exact equivalent of the Sanskrit word, and no other word will do. That is the language I am quoting from his lecture. That word is arhate, arhana in Sanskrit, archana, arhana, not sevana. Sevana is service, arhana is worship. When the seva becomes arhana? When reverence is added to service, it becomes worship. Stand in reverence before the people of India, the common people, the slum people, the rural people, backward classes, the tribals. Stand in reverence before them. Then serve them. It becomes worship. That's the language of Vivekananda, taken from a great verse of the third book of Srimad Bhagavatam, where God himself said, worship me in all beings, for I am present in them. Atamam sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatmanam kritalayam. I am present in all of them. Arhayet. Worship me there. Arhana means archana. Worship me there. How? Danamanabhyam. Through removing the felt wants of humanity, showing respect to them when you serve them. These two must go together. Dana and mana. Not arrogantly going, throwing some paisa towards poor people. No. Stand in respect and reverence. What we need in democracy today, that respect and reverence towards humanity, and take an attitude of friendliness and non-separateness. That's language. Arhayed danamanabhyam maitriya, maitri bhava. I'm your friend. I have come to help you, make you stand on your own feet. What a beautiful conception. Maitriya. And then abhinnena chakshusha. We are both non-different. We are both non-separate. See, externally we may be different. Internally, the same Atman is in you as well as in me. Therefore, you develop the vision of non-separateness. With that attitude, serve these people in a form of worship. That is real religion, says that great shloka, the third book. Kapila giving his spiritual advice to his mother, Devahuti, a very famous section of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the third book. Swamiji referred to that. Worship them. Worship is the exact equivalent of the Sanskrit word, and no other English word will do. These are the gods whom we have to worship, instead of being jealous of each other and destroying each other. That's what we have done for ages. But we have suffered. Doesn't open our eyes. This is the time to open our eyes. No more deal with human beings as we did till now, exploiting or neglecting. Now the whole thing must change. So in these statements, Rajnavalkya said, there are all these gods. Actually, there are only one. There is only one. Ekam, eva, advitiyam. Brahman is one and not two. Advitiyam, not two. The language. So many ideas are put here. He is asking question, and there is very little to explain here. There is nothing which is philosophically significant, mostly ritual and theology current at the time. That's why Shankara also removes everything, finishes everything with a few lines only. But towards the end, the idea comes that what are the two left behind? What are the two? There he says, that is prana and anna, matter and energy. They are the final two. The whole universe is composed of matter and energy. So that concept comes there. Go on. Matter and vital force. Vital force is prana. These two, which are. Having said this, he continues further, and then toward the end of the chapter, very, very fine remark is there. Rupani, number 10, you see, comes here. Now, at 19, chapter 19, that is 3, 9, 19. Shagalyeti Huvaja Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya addressed Shagalya, saying, Tvam Svidime Brahmana Angara Shamakrata iti. Yajnavalkya said, Shagalya, have these Vedic scholars made you their instrument for burning charcoal, just like a chimney? You take charcoal, you become a chimney in the hands of these people. Are you not realizing that they are making a fool of you for asking these questions? Yajnavalkya is telling there. Shagalya kept silent. He addressed him. Shagalya, have these Vedic scholars made you their instrument for burning charcoal such as fire tongs? Here it means they must have done so, but you do not perceive that you are being consumed by me, Yajnavalkya said to him. Then comes the same thing up to the end of the chapter. We are in the midst of these various theological ideas, the heart. Finally, in the end, number 25, towards the end he says, here comes the re-emphasis on the Atman, yourself. Sa esha neti neti Atma. That is the Atman, which is neti neti, not this, not this, not this, because it is not an object. The Atman cannot be explained iti iti, can explain only neti neti, not this, not this, not this. There. Agrihyo nahi grihyate. It can, the Atman cannot be explained iti iti, can explain only neti neti, not this, not this, not this. There. Agrihyo nahi grihyate. It cannot be caught, he says. It is the catcher of everything, but it cannot be caught. Similarly, ashiryo nahi shiryate. That being of the Upanishads. Shagalya is answering. This is the Atman taught in the Upanishads. Aupanishadam Purusham. The truth taught only in the Upanishad, nowhere else. That behind this body-mind complex is an infinite reality. That is the truth found only in the Upanishad. So, calls it Aupanishadam Purusham. Is that like that? Nayat. Natu tamtu Aupanishadam Purusham Prachami. Tan me vivakshati. Then Shagalya stopped there. After this, discussion was over. Shruti, as I very story of Shagalya comes here, relating to an earlier story also. Shruti is telling it here. Finally, Yajnavalkya got up and said, now Shagalya is silent, all are silent. Brahmana bhagavanto yova kamayate sama prachatu sarveva ma prachatu yovai kamayate tamyam prachami sarvanva va prachami iti te brahmana na dadrshuhu. Revered Brahmanas, whichever amongst you wishes may ask me questions, or all of you may ask questions, or I shall ask questions of whichsoever amongst you wishes, or ask all of you. The Brahmanas did not dare. The assembly ends there. After this, a series of verses come here. They are simple verses dealing with those theological ideas which were current at the time, but towards the end, high philosophical and spiritual ideas also come. Jata eva in 28. Read 9, 28, 6 says, Jata esha eva na jayate kinvenam janayet punah. It's an oft-quoted passage by commentators. Vijnanam anandam brahma ratir dhatu parayanam ishtamanasya tadvidhi iti navamam brahmana. The 9th brahmana of chapter 3 ends here. What did he say? If you think he is ever born, I say no. He is again born. Now, who should again bring him forth? Knowledge, bliss, Brahman, the supreme goal of the distributor of wealth as well as of him who has realized Brahman and who lives in it. This is the nature of that Brahman. Vijnanam, Anandam, Brahma. Vijnanam is knowledge, Ananda bliss, and that is Brahman. Jai. Shankara's commentary says, if you think he is ever born and there is nothing more to ask about him, the question about birth is possible only of one who is yet to be born and not of one who is already born. Brahman is ever there. It's not going to be born again. It is there, ever present. Swayambhu, self-born, self-existent. There is a language that is used in much of our literature. And not of one who is already born. But a man is ever born. So no question about his birth is admissible. So I say no. Then what happens then? After death, he is again born for a certainty. For otherwise, you would be assuming the man reaps the fruits of actions that he has never done, fails to obtain those of actions he has actually done. So I ask you, who should again bring him, the dead man, forth? Because Shankara's commentary, the Brahmanas did not know that. That fruit of the universe, out of which the dead man is again born, was unknown to them. Hence, being the best of the knowers of Brahman, Yajnavalkya defeated the Brahmanas and took away the cows. Story is finished. Shankara is telling. The Shruti in its own form now tells us of the root of the universe, about which Yajnavalkya asked the Brahmanas and gives the verse that directly describe Brahman. What is that Brahman? Vijnanam, pure intelligence. That is Brahman, which is also bliss, Anandam, not smitten with pain, like sense perception, but serene, beneficent, matchless, spontaneous, ever content, and homogeneous. What is that? Brahman, which has both the characteristics of knowledge and bliss. The supreme goal, or the bestower of the fruits of actions, of the distributor of wealth, one who gives charity. Whatever blessing he is to get is given by Brahman himself. The sacrificer engages in rites, the wealth, who has realized Brahman, lives in it all the time, having renounced all desires and doing no ritualistic work. That is Brahman, whose glory is being proclaimed. Here is something, the bliss. One subject that is discussed here. If everything is Brahman, who is to suffer? Who does evil? Who does wrong? How do we explain this diversity and evil in the world? This is a very big question in every philosophy dealing with ultimate unity. If everything is ultimately one, this question will always come. If you have two in the beginning, then there is no problem. As we say, Semitic philosophy, or monotheistic religions, all good comes from God, all bad comes from the devil. So God and devil are always there. Unfortunately, in Vedanta, we have no place for the devil. Everything is Brahman himself. Then how do you explain evil? This is a great question. In the early days, Christian missionaries used to take this point always. Hindus have no concept of evil. That's what they will say. Everything is the same. There is no concept of evil. Therefore, this subject forms an important point of consideration. Shankara discusses in this commentary here. Main point is Brahman has come as this universe, evolution. So, a particular form, a bird, an animal, or a human being, in which Brahman has entered as the very soul of that being, caught up in that particular framework, Brahman forgets his own infinite nature and behaves like any particular creature there. Then, out of this, freedom will come later on. In the human level, we realize our true nature. This Maya of Brahman makes Brahman also, in you and me, helpless, weeping. Ramakrishna used to sing a Bengali line, very beautiful idea. Panchabhute fade, Brahma pode kande. Brahman weeps when he is caught in the net of the five elements. So the world is the net of five elements, the network of relativity. In that, Brahman is caught. Brahman forgets his infinite Brahman nature. He thinks I am small, I am a cat, I am a rat, I am an ant, I am a human being, and forgets everything. Then after some time, the knowledge comes back. This is how the world is going on. The same Brahman is in you, and yet I don't realize it. That is called Maya. Maya comes here. How does the one become the many? How does the infinite become the finite? There is no actual becoming. There is some power operating to produce the many out of the one. That is what we are all. But essentially we are that one. We don't accept duality at all. Separateness is not there. From the word ocean, a wave comes. The wave is the ocean. But temporarily it is called a wave. It is nothing but the water of the ocean. Wave may not know its nature as the ocean. Similarly, a human being doesn't know one's nature as that infinite one. So Sri Ramakrishna said it, Panchabhute Phade. Phade means a network. And Panchabhuta. This world is a network of the five elements. In that, Brahman enters. For a minute, everything is all right. Slowly he forgets. I have forgotten. The power of Maya is exactly that. A fact, not a fact. A reality, not a reality. But you have to handle it. That's how we have to handle this life here. So, when that infinite Brahman is caught in this human form, you find good, bad, evil, so many things coming. Animal world also. Just like solar energy caught up on the earth, it becomes the dirt lying in the dustbin. That same solar energy, it has become that. It has become this, but it is all solar energy. Nothing but solar radiation. So this Brahman he assumed the Maya to become the universe. And then he forgot himself in the universe. Now he has to remember himself when he becomes a human being. Then he can realize himself through the human being. That is the uniqueness of the human being. Brahmavalogadhishanam, where he has forgotten himself from the first to last in evolution. That Brahman can rediscover himself in the human form. So after he projected a human form, he was happy. Mudamapadevaha. Why? Here I can rediscover myself in this form. In no other form I can rediscover myself. That is the shloka in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Ramakrishna tells the story in our Puranas, it is there. When Vishnu took the form of a pig, Varaha, to salvage the earth. After the work was over, the pig and his wife, number of children, he was very happy. And he continued to be the pig. He didn't want to give up his big body. It was full of joy in its own way. So gods became frightened. What has happened, Vishnu? He has become the pig and now returned back to Vaikuntha. He says, then Shiva came there. Vishnu, it is time you finished your job. Go back to your own abode. No, I am quite happy here. Absolutely happy. You can see a pig, how happy it is. Who says it is not happy? Perfectly happy in its own level. So this happened to Vishnu. Then Shiva just cleaved the body of that pig. Then only when the body went away, he understood, oh, that's my infinite nature. I've forgotten all about it. Just see, if that is true with regard to Vishnu, what about you and I? Millions of us. A little Maya is enough to upset all of us. Here it is powerful Maya, which Krishna or Vishnu put upon himself to do this particular work. So, this is the nature of Maya. We live in Maya. We are saints in Maya. We are wicked people in Maya. Maya is everywhere, inside, outside. And in this Maya, we have to keep it as a challenge. I shall overcome this Maya. Then one day, we shall overcome also. But it is a very difficult situation. Ramakrishna tells the story of Narada. Narada is absolutely free soul. He can go to heaven, to Vaikuntha, everywhere freely. Any Asura's palace, he can enter. Our Puranas will find. Narada one day asked Krishna, you often talk of Maya, Maya, Maya. I don't understand that Maya at all. Can you show me Maya a little? Can you give me an experience of Maya? Krishna said, better not to. Once you get it, you will be in trouble. don't want it. He said, no, I want to see Maya a little. Please give me the experience of Maya. So Krishna said, okay, let us see. One day they were going on the road. Krishna became thirsty. Asked Narada, go to yonder village, get a glass of water to drink. He went to the village. A nice family, a young unmarried girl was there. She brought the water. Narada looked at her. By that time Maya caught him. He said, asked the father, will you give him in marriage to me? He said, yes. So they married, had children. And later on, he became quite old. A big flood came. Family was washed away. Children were washed away. He held his child in one hand, the wife on the other. Others have gone away. He was in great distress. In that particular moment, somebody patted on his back. Well, Narada, where's the glass of water? Half an hour I have been waiting. What? Half an hour? A whole lifetime has gone. This is what has happened. Enough. I don't want to hear your Maya again. I experienced what serious thing it is. Now, in everyday life you can see why people murder each other, why people steal each other, why people kill each other. Everything you will find. Tremendous power of Maya. It is there. But Ramakrishna gives today a beautiful new idea of the concept of Maya. Maya has two dimensions. Avidya Maya, Vidya Maya. Maya is Maya. When you do bad, you are doing Maya. When you do good also, you are in Maya. When you meditate, you are still in Maya. Maya is always there. But there are two dimensions. One is called Avidya Maya. The other is called Vidya Maya. Avidya Maya takes you to bondage of these five elements more and more. You get deeper into that that net of five elements through Avidya Maya. Through Vidya Maya, you are slowly freeing yourself from the net of the five elements. So the heart must become the playground of Vidya Maya. It is for us to choose. Every individual must choose. Maya is true. Maya is a reality all around us, within us, outside us. But I choose Vidya Maya. From now onwards, I will choose Vidya Maya. Then day by day, I become freer, freer, freer. The last moment when the mind is ripe enough, we go beyond all Maya. Through the grace of the divine. Mama Maya Duratya, Krishna said in the Gita. My Maya is difficult to cross. Mamevaye prapadyante, Maya metam tarantite. Those who take refuge in me, they can cross this Maya. There is no other way. Take refuge in the Mayavi, the one who does the Maya. Ramakrishna said, if you look at the magician, he is doing a lot of magic. He is converting something into something else. You are all deluded all the time. But look at the magician. Then you are free from magic. You are not at all cheated by magic. This is the concept. The magician and the magic. We are caught in the magic. And therefore we cannot escape. The only way to escape, go to the magician. He tells you what is being done. That is the only way. When Rama Polderman did magic here, our Holland friend, last year also he was here, he will just take a rupee and give it to you. He will hold 1 rupee and you look into your hand, your rupee is gone. In his hand, 2 rupees have come. Though you are far away from him. This is all Maya. Absolutely Maya, sleight of hand. But he does it. And you feel as everything wonderful. So this little magic can be so wonderful. The universe is really wonderful. Though it is Brahman, it doesn't know it is Brahman. It is full of weakness, full of ignorance. That is the primordial avidya, ignorance, from which we are seeking freedom through knowledge, atma-jnana, more and more knowledge of the self. I am free, I am free, I am ever pure. That's my true nature. This is Vidya Maya. Through Vidya Maya, we get freedom from Maya. We are able to be absolutely free from the clutches of Maya. This is how Vedanta discusses this subject, and these are all of great interest today in thinkers in Western countries. Without a devil, how can you explain the world of duality, the world of evil? Vedanta alone does it. No devil at all. We are all devil within ourselves. When you do wicked, you are the devil. Shankara says in the commentary, Deva, Asura, Manushya. These stories you get plenty in your Puranas. Shankara says they are not separate things. They are all human beings only. With certain qualities, you call them Asura. With certain other qualities, you call them Deva. It's all here only.